What's going on, LLC people? Almost at the end of April. Hold on. Just hold on. It's all we can do at this point. Championship season's around the corner. Got about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on who you are, what conference you are, what division you are. So the light is there. Just don't stare at it too long. So anyhow, uh, lovely to be on the tiles with everyone, talking a little bit of track and field. But before we get started, Governor, how are you today, sir?
Um, I'm appreciating my antibiotics. Um, I've got my week dose. Thankfully, whatever I got hit with while I was at Mount SAC, um, the worst was over by Monday. I mean, I didn't even go to work on Monday, and got my throat. I still have a little bit of um, a voice issue, but other than that, energy's back. And yeah, I'm waiting for April to be over too. It's
Seriously.
April has been long. It's
So long
been
and short,
very
so
long.
short all at the same time, right? You
Hmm.
feel all of the 30 days, but it's already
Yes,
the 23rd.
absolutely. So
It's tough. It's tough. Only to keep in mind that come May, the roster goes down.
yes, yes,
So,
yeah.
forgotten man, how are you today, sir?
It's been a day. It's
Yep.
been a day. Uh, I am grateful to the Lord for having this day. Um, I didn't make the most of today. How about that? We're not going to blame the Lord. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll just say today was not the best day, but tomorrow, although not promised, I'm sure will be better.
We'll
So
wake up.
tonight's episode is avec le vino.
I don't know what that means.
Avec means with in French.
Got it. So he's bringing the cup back. That's basically all I heard. So, Clyde, how are you today, sir?
I pass. Don't nobody want me to answer that question today.
All right, all right, all right. I
Oh,
will
you're going
say
to
though,
answer it in just a few minutes.
Well,
I
Yes, but
will,
that will be in general. That will not be specific to my completely fucked up day.
yeah.
and it's like the meme that was just out. My mouth is closed, but the subtitles are all over my face.
Hmm.
So,
I will say this though, Clyde. You've got a beam of light,
yeah,
like
coming down on
right across your face.
Yeah, that's not
Hey,
from heavens. That's from my whack ass life
oh,
office.
okay. See, I just rolled it out for you. All you had to do was just take it in. That's all you had to do.
And
Whoa.
the forlet, well, I can't even say the word.
So that's it.
Yeah, them in this office.
Oh.
so,
Yeah, you really do have like a beam
Yes.
right
Yeah,
across your
It's
forehead.
an aura, man. It's an aura.
It's a something.
yeah.
the vampire. Just kidding.
There you go.
Um, anyhow, so let's go ahead and start it off as we do this time of year with Track is Back. Um, Tom Jones was last weekend. Michael Johnson was last weekend.
Mount
Mount
SAC,
SAC, Brian Clay,
Long
uh,
Beach.
Long Beach. There you go. I was like, oh man, how could I forget that one? There was some East Coast stuff going on. So, I mean, outside of Florida, I mean, like up the coast, but lots and lots of things that happened. Um, I mean, we can start with the meet that I was at. There was an 804 long jump on the men's side and a 7 meter jump on the women's side.
Phenomenal.
Which was
Pretty
where?
crazy.
Baylor.
gold. Win league,
Yeah,
no doubt.
big league and I did, some special assignment double duty, midweek Mount SAC, weekend Michael Johnson.
Well,
That was
I
rough.
mean, we took the crew down to Gainesville for Tom Jones. Shout out to um, Florida and the crew for the invitation. Always a phenomenal meet. I believe currently ranked the #1 meet in the world. Um, Tons of brilliant stuff going on, obviously. I'll tell you what though, the weather, quote unquote, was mischievous because the wind was wreaking havoc all week at that competition. If you look at for example, like the invitational long jump, half the marks have massive tailwinds and half the marks have massive headwinds. It kept swirling,
Hmm.
causing pure chaos. In the women's triple jump, which we swept, we went 1-2. The entire competition from start to absolute finish took 40 minutes because people had dropped out and there were only 7 jumpers. I would just like to say to all athletes, if you ever find yourself in a position where you have minimal jumpers in an event like that, what you should all do is conspire to take as much time on the clock as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to start jumping with 50 seconds left on the clock because you're only going to screw everybody else in the competition. I felt so bad for the girls. They were so tired. Like they were so tired. But, ultimately Tom Jones is always great and there's plenty to just be a fan of and enjoy the experience that was. But yeah, that I found hilarious in real time.
I mean, Florida Relays was really good, right? And Tom Jones was like, "Yeah, hold my beer." That meet is that meet is funny. Like when you're not there and you just are looking at results, it you're just like, what didn't happen there?
So the one thing that I think gets missed, and I've never been, but the one thing that I think gets missed about Tom Jones is that we as fans, we as onlookers, will focus on the unbelievable results, unbelievable times, all of that. But Tom Jones gives everyone an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're in the building,
And
yes.
exactly. And the thing about it is, you know, one of the the downsides of having elite meets and that sort of thing is that if you're thinking about, all right, we need to condense things or whatever, half your team's not going to get in,
Mhm.
right? But having a Friday, Saturday meet, now you're allowing your developmental kids, even though they're talented all the same, but they're getting a run, right? And they have their opportunities. Um, and you look at the schools that were there. Um, I mean, we're now seeing the result of one team in particular that went to Tom Jones that is now like basically said to the rest of the conference, "Hey, we're here." And so, I can appreciate what I'm saying is that I can appreciate what Mouse has done and the fact that, you know, there is space for both. And he's done an admirable job of doing that. And that's primarily what Friday is, huh?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Can I mean, both days, because you have in the morning on Saturday, you got the
Right. I said you got the morning session on Saturday.
morning session of
Okay.
hurdles, the morning session of hundreds. Can I give you all my favorite sequence from Tom Jones, though? First of all, it's really two. I had to create two new handoffs for my 4x1 20 minutes before the race started.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over there with all the professional crew creating their handoffs in real time. That was a whole experience in itself. But no, and if anyone has ESPN or ESPN Plus and you have the ability to watch the meet back on replay, just go all the way to the end on Saturday and start with the second to last heat of the men's 4x4 because it was really, really, really funny. So in the second to last heat, the Florida B team, if you will, is racing and winning. And then this kid from Purdue runs a phenomenal anchor leg. I think it was like 44-1 or something. Comes all the way from like fourth or fifth, passes the Florida team, does the stare down, which was cool, right? Then crosses the line and starts to do the gator chomp.
I heard about
Dude,
this.
they gonna stop doing that. Somebody's gonna get got for that.
Now, as King Petty and as a person who has flossed in many relay wins, I'm here for all the shenanigans. But here's the thing. You don't get to floss at the B team if that's your A team.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a thing. And so when an altercation almost broke out over that, if you've ever been to Gainesville, like the whole Florida team is right there on the corner, right?
Florida team, the alums, all of them are right there.
So, an incident almost ensued, and rightfully so, cooler heads prevailed, whatever. But then the actual last heat gets to run, of which Florida is running their almost A team because they got people missing, right?
Yeah,
And
we'll call it the B plus A minus team.
right, it's a B team, but but they run 301, and the race ultimately isn't close. But that's not the fun part. The fun part is that team is so juiced up, like geeked up energy wise from this incident that just went down. You got to see the video. Tennessee is running really well on the pop off leg, and they're way out front. They're in lane 9. Their second leg gets the stick, comes around the turn, and starts braking rather aggressively towards the 200-meter line. And dude is small. And you have Justin Braun and Will Floyd from Georgia, basically running stride for stride with this little dude from Tennessee in front of them. When I tell you Justin Braun WWE tossed that boy at 200 meters, he went flying. And by all accounts, it was pretty legal because Justin had the space. It was just like a dude half his size got in the wrong way of two freight trains and literally went, I'm talking about feet off the ground, hands in the air, just tossed him.
That's funny.
Looking like a little rascals.
On their way to a 301. So it was like there's just entertainment all around. But you got to see it. You got to see it.
So if there's anything that just flew off the page at me when I'm looking at results, and then I finally see the race, that has to be the best non-NCAA four hurdles race in history, in NCAA history.
Very good.
Am I right?
Oh yeah, easily.
I mean, first of all, anytime Glenn gets second,
Yeah.
let's just start there. I
Isn't that
mean,
the same young lady that beat her at NCAA's?
Sutherland, yeah.
Yeah.
But you roll that off, 53-46, 53-48, 53-73, 55-49 for fourth. Ninth fastest is 56-8.
Yeah.
That's your ninth fastest collegiate? I mean, come on now.
It was pretty crazy.
And
Phenomenal.
Sutherland is just so good. Like with like 150 to go, Rachel Glenn is far enough away where you're like, oh, well, she's gonna win it. And you expect her to win it. But Sutherland is so technically sound, you could just see that she's gonna get there. And like got all the way back to the front. Like it was great. Like I really like that girl. She runs really tough.
My
Hmm.
favorite thing about Sutherland and the way she runs is she is unfazed by others' athleticism.
Yeah.
Like she knows Rachel Glenn is a better athlete than she is.
Right.
She knows Rachel Glenn probably has a higher ceiling than her. She also knows that Rachel Glenn is nowhere near her ceiling currently, and she will come back to her. She knows this, and she races unfazed by what Rachel Glenn does, which I will tell you that in and of itself is impressive because it takes faith and belief in yourself and your training to race like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm
So,
I'm always impressed when young people can do that because that is very difficult. People don't talk about
Isabella Whitaker.
that.
Running unattached, by the way.
Okay. That's I need answers.
I ain't got them for you.
Okay. All right.
Isn't she
Okay.
done?
It would appear so.
No, she was done with after indoors.
I
I
mean,
guess. I mean, I don't know.
I
I don't know.
I
It would
feel
appear. It would
pretty
appear so.
I feel pretty confident that she was done with eligibility after indoors.
Oh, okay.
So then, I mean, if that's the case, then that whole
Okay.
move and transition to Arkansas was ultimately a professional play. It just so happened that she had an indoor season left.
Correct. And then let's go run another. I mean, like, okay, if you're trying to get a contract, you probably got a better chance of getting a contract from Arkansas than from Penn,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, what more storybook?
Mm-hmm.
How much more storybook can it be to go and run your last indoor race at NCAA's and break it, the USA record? I mean, that's crazy.
At home.
At home.
Mhm.
Yep. And then have to get in a car and drive for 3 hours to get drug tested. Oh, wait, sorry. We talked about that on the show already. My bad.
Yes, we did.
As y'all can tell, I'm still bothered by this.
Hey, it could have been further.
Listen, it, it I'm sure that people felt uh nothing but glee that it was even possible because there are times where it just hasn't even been possible.
So
But
I
I don't
want to
want
ask
to I
a
don't want to
question.
divert us.
I want to ask a question too, since I was on playing East Coast shenanigans and the governor was out west.
Yes.
Midway through Mount SAC,
Yes.
if you take USC out of it, the meet was
Hmm.
awful. I acknowledge that it got better towards the end,
Yes.
but what were the vibes of Mount SAC overall? Because it felt underwhelming aside from USC.
So Friday was cold. Let's just
Oh,
start there.
okay.
And
And Friday was warmer than Thursday, just for the record.
it was kind of that wet cold. Um,
Yeah, LA don't do wet cold.
but by far, I mean, to me, in all my years going to Mount SAC, I've never felt more dead of a vibe than it was on Friday.
Mhm.
Okay.
Saturday, the sun came out. It was 78. It felt good. Um, and they were trying. The music was blaring. They tried to get the vibes going and all of that. And there were some decent performances, but I just remember the whole weekend. I mean, outside of me being sick, I just felt like there's something missing, man. There's just something missing. And what I've always romanticized about Mount SAC is the people. The
Mhm.
people,
It was
the
always a show.
always.
Yes.
There was a certain amount of we could be doing this down the street in Watts. There was always that feeling of, not that something could pop off, because it was more like backyard barbecue, show and prove, right? The grill is going, you have your food trucks, you've got, you're selling your food, there's shoes over there, all of this stuff. That's the Mount Sac that I grew up on. That's the Mount Sac that, you know, it has been disinfected,
Hmm.
if I had to use a word. And the idea that they're now picking the best 20 or 25 teams, or if you manage to get in and schmooze enough, and so going that route, um, man, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And essentially, Tom Jones is doing what Mount Sac used to do.
Correct. The
Mount Sac,
people don't remember Mount
Mount
SAC.
Sac was where the pros especially the West Coast, folks from Texas. That's where you're going because you would go to Texas Relays, you would go to, wherever, but then you showed up at Mount Sac, man. And Mount Sac was like the precursor to, hey, watch what's coming watch what I'm working with.
Like the pros used to open their seasons at Mount SAC.
At Mount Sac, yeah. Yeah.
And what people don't understand is there used to be like 5 levels of Mount SAC, right?
Yeah.
Like you had the high school,
Mm-hmm.
you had the high school invite,
Yes.
you had the collegiate,
Yeah.
you had the collegiate invite,
Yeah.
and then you had the pros.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 5 different levels of 4x1s, and each champion got a plaque or a
That's
watch or
right.
whatever it was
That's
they were
right.
like. I remember my first year out in California, I won the collegiate invite 100, and I thought I was special,
Yeah.
right? I won the 100 at like 10:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey, you had some profile off of that though.
I
I mean,
mean, listen, at the end of the day, people don't, y'all know how I feel. All of those things are part of development, and winning is a learned trait,
yes, it is.
Right.
right? So I learned how to win on route to winning at the highest level, right? And our current system now has eliminated development in so many ways, which is why what the governor had to say uh, about Tom Jones is so pertinent. Is that the people who get squeezed out, and I don't want to jump because I know we're going to go there at some point, but the people who are getting squeezed now are the emerging elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the ones who are going to be elite, the ones who have elite ceilings, but they weren't on the first bus.
That's right.
Right? Like, and look, I'll be honest, that was me.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing track as a junior in high school, right? Like I went from being third in the country to seventh in the world in 1 year.
Mm.
Right. So then I had to learn how to be in this new area code and address. I cried after being third at Big Tens, and Joe Green pulled me aside. He went to Ohio State. It was a different school. He pulls me aside. He's like, man, you're going to be great. You just have to keep doing what you're doing. He goes, you're not going to beat somebody like me. I'm a senior. I've been doing this for a long time. Like a competitor said these things to me.
Mm-hmm.
All those things are lost now. Those moments are lost. Right. So now you got the elite at the youngest age are going to go to the best schools, and the non-elite are going to go other places to develop and then leave. And that's not good, right? We've created a JV, so to speak, right? If you're not in a Power Four conference, you are literally the JV. And your job as a JV is to outgrow the JV so you can be a card carrying member of the varsity.
Yeah.
And that's how these kids are going to look at it. That's how their parents are going to look at it. And that's crazy to me because you should have pride about going to UTSA and going to the big meet and beating schools from the Power Four. You shouldn't be like trying to make the big meet so that you can showcase your talents to the big schools so you can transfer to one of them. That's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be trying to build more Davids to take down more Goliaths. Not everybody, it's like this is, it's like what has happened in the NBA, right? It's like we got to create all these super teams.
Yep.
Anyway,
I mean, the fact that in terms of top ranked teams, they were able to get Arkansas men,
yeah.
South Florida men, and USC men. That was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Great 4x4 out there, by the way.
Oh yes, it was.
Arizona
Absolutely.
State lights.
Yeah, it was. It was a great way to end the meet. A little bit of fireworks in the long jump, 8-meter jump. Um, he was chasing a para athlete
Yeah.
who jumped over 8 meters as well. So that was an interesting competition. Um, again, you're just used to the circus and the pomp and circumstance that is Mount SAC, and it's just been
Oh, you used to have an 8-meter PB to make
yes,
that
yes,
to
yeah,
make that field.
yeah,
If you were less than 8 meters, then you were in the you
yeah.
were in the collegiate invite.
Invite,
And if
yeah,
you were under 770, you were in the
yeah,
collegiate open.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
look, this is what it's just greed, right? Like Mount SAC was still Mount SAC, but they were starting to get upset that the overflow meets were starting to get some traction,
right,
right?
right,
People were bringing their entire teams to California because they all wouldn't get into Mount SAC. And they were running distance people at the distance carnival that was at Brian Clay. And they were doing field event people that didn't get into the meet over at Long
Long
Beach.
Beach, yeah,
But the thing is, that was a flow and an experience. And even though it was crazy and coaches complained about it on a regular basis, they always did it because
yeah,
people loved it, right? So then Mount SAC decides, well, we'll stop this nonsense. Your whole team has to compete at Mount SAC. You
yes, yeah,
can't compete at Brian Clay and you can't compete at Long Beach State to the point where you could be sued. Like there's a contract for this.
Which
yeah,
was a wild assertion.
yeah, man, yeah,
And all it did was go, oh, okay, so this is what I'll do. I'll send all of my distance runners to Brian Clay,
yes,
and the rest of my team will go to another meet.
yes,
Right.
yep,
Right?
yep,
I will send my good jumpers because they're not great jumpers. I'll send my good jumpers to Long Beach State.
mm-hmm.
And we can send the throwers and everybody else, we can put them all in two vans that go compete in the meet, and then they can come home.
Yep,
So now Mount SAC looks like this weird
yeah,
collegiate invitational.
it does.
It's
It
not
really
Mount
does.
SAC anymore. It might
No,
as well be called the Mount San Antonio College Invitational.
invitational.
It's not what somebody said it best during the deck. They were like, if this continues, I'm gonna put used to on the signs because all the signage says where the world's greatest athletes go to compete. I think that's what it says, right?
Yeah, right.
And somebody said I'm gonna write used to on all the signs
So
because that's how it feels. Like
oh yeah.
it used to be a big deal.
Yeah,
Penn Relays is like that.
Oh yeah, no, Penn, yeah.
Stop it.
But
Stop it.
no, it's just the
It's
truth
true.
though. It's
Penn
not
is
it's
not
not a
good.
shot at Penn Relays. What I'm saying is the world has changed, so
Yeah.
Penn isn't what it used to be.
Well,
Right? I'll give Penn credit. They have changed even their marketing of the meet as to what they are. Right? They're not trying to market themselves like they used to. Like, you know what I mean? Mount SAC is still trying to sell us the same commercials,
well
and it
that
ain't
was
the same product.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And in this new professional realm where none of the LA based pros seem to step out there and run at all.
They were there.
Or they
They
were
were
hanging
there.
around,
Yeah, they
right?
were hanging out. Yeah.
Like you got to try to reimagine what that weekend is supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
and kind of change the vision of it. Now, to their credit, no one expected the exit of Ron Kamaka when it happened, and rest in peace. But we're a few years past that now. So,
Yeah.
if you don't want it to deteriorate from where it is, you got to reimagine it. And the whole contractual obligation thing, like that's not that.
Listen, if I'm running Mount SAC, I get on the phone with whoever the hell thinks they're in charge of USATF, and I say, listen, we need to make this the official, unofficial opener for all US pros. What do I got to do? What do I have to put in the coffers to get all of them to come back here like they used to?
It's an idea,
right? Because the relay that happens now at Tom Jones, that used to be at Mount SAC.
Yes.
yes,
Yep.
Right?
and this is a larger issue. If they could find a way to get back to this, I think it would go a long way because this is a West Coast thing. There's no Sunday anymore.
There's no
Mm-hmm.
Sunday anymore.
Yes, I forgot about that.
That's the
Listen,
biggest. That's when it
Sunday at
started to
Mount
go
SAC,
wrong.
right? Because Pete, this is what I was talking about. We had 5 divisions, right? How do you get through 5 divisions of championships? You have a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. And here's what's also crazy: they moved the JUCOs out.
Yeah,
Because remember, the Friday section was JUCOs and high school
Mm-hmm.
qualifiers,
qualified.
right?
Yes.
So then Saturday you had collegiate, you had collegiate, emerging elite, right? Qualifiers, and you got to have a little bit of a final from a JUCO or a high school, right? Or whatever, right? Because high schools can't be on Sunday. So the high schoolers got to kind of be a big deal on Saturday. But then on Sunday, that was Sundress Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, I have seen so many superstar actors and people from other industries in the line to get in and out at
Mm-hmm.
Mount SAC.
Yes.
Right? What's my man's name from Green Mile? Rest his soul.
Yes.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yep. Yep.
I met him in the line at Mount SAC, in the line for in and out.
Wow.
I made a joke with him about. I was like, "Are you getting the 4x4?" He with that deep, right? But the point is like we all. I mean, look, 3 of us spent a good portion of our collegiate careers in California, right? Like Mount SAC used to literally be the meet on every single Californian's schedule.
Yep.
If you were a high school, you wanted to be good enough to get into Mount SAC. If you were a college, you had to go to Mount SAC. It was a necessity. Trust me, when I was a head coach at Cal, I hated it because we had to spend so much money to be there for 4 frigging days. But still, it was a thing you had to do. Yep. Dude, Mount SAC is like for the West Coast teams, Mount SAC is an afterthought.
Yeah.
San Jose State went to Tom Jones.
We were in Gainesville.
Like, y'all went to Tom Jones. Rightfully so. It was a better meet for your program, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. What's next, Chew?
What's next, Chew?
Um, well, oh, we can't talk about it. Just kidding. I was going to say something about a high schooler, but never mind. Some great marks happen overall, though they were not said out loud here. There are a lot of great marks, so don't feel some type of way that we didn't say anything. Got diverted in the conversation, but it was a great weekend overall. I mean, it's got to be when it's Mount SAC weekend, Brian Clay weekend, Tom Jones, all of those meets. So if you
Hey,
haven't,
the new track at Brian Clay is fire.
Mm.
oh, I didn't realize that.
Listen,
But they got a new track.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna take heat, and I'm gonna say in the screen so you can see me. I don't care. I know what I'm saying is correct. Azusa Pacific is the best place in the United States to long jump.
Oh,
End
100%
of story, full stop, done.
guaranteed.
It's
I don't really think it's close.
the best place in the United States to long jump. End of story.
Absolutely.
Is there a qualification?
Nope. Don't believe me? Take your kids there. I mean, I can be petty and say that Texas State is a better place to long jump than the University of Texas. Also true.
Why are you going there? Don't go there.
I said,
Hey,
but my point is,
facts are friendly.
all I'm saying to you is, and you know this, Governor, I
Yeah.
never say things like this lightly.
Mhm.
I never say things like this until I'm 100% convinced based on numbers of times I've been there and seen things.
Personally, I wish UTEP would bring back the Sierra Medical.
Listen, sir, UTEP, listen, the UTEP meet is very similar to Ramona, Oklahoma,
Yes.
right? Listen, the collegiate record in long jump is 874.
Yep.
I love the man. He was
Yes.
my teammate at juniors. I'm not even saying he can't jump 874
Oh
because I
man.
think he could.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this much. We will all be well dead and buried before somebody jumps 874 again because 1.9 wind at UTEP is you can't recreate that in a lab.
No. True, you've never been to UTEP, right? Oh man.
Oh, there's this
It's
ridiculous
yes.
diagonal wind that, like, look,
It comes off a
it's
hill.
not cheating. Like, you can set up 15 wind gauges. They're all going to say
Yes.
1.1 to 1.9, but they also have to be like tethered to the ground so they don't blow over.
Exactly.
Because the wind is blowing that hard, but it's blowing diagonally across the track.
Okay, so let me go back.
And what's UTEP's elevation?
Oh, dude, it's way up
6K?
there. It's up there.
In theory, what's the elevation of UTEP?
The city's elevation is 3,800 feet, 1,200 meters above sea
Yes.
Sweet. It's not even that bad.
Chuck, you never had the pleasure of competing there, did you?
I took Art U out to UTEP one
Oh,
time.
you did?
Listen, that was a mistake. And not be like, there's nothing about UTEP per se. Like,
Yeah.
it was just too many shenanigans. Too many people almost got kicked off the team off that trip.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yes.
too many.
Well, you can't go to El Paso anymore, right? Like it used to be a place you could go.
Yes.
Right. Like now you like literally you can't go because you might lose a kid to the cartel. For real. Like that's not even a joke.
Right.
But back in the day,
Oh man.
back in the early 90s,
Man.
boy.
Back when the descending order list was in full bloom for outdoors, and you're getting close to even after conference. You didn't quite get it at conference. Hey, you're making a trip. You're making a trip to El Paso.
Man.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Were you there for the sandstorm meet?
Yes.
Oh my. All right, I'm not gonna delay us. I'll just say this. People in El Paso, and Kareem was there, but they they start telling people the meet is gonna be over in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
It's sunny outside. And they're like, everybody who's not from around there is like, what are you talking about? It's like, look out there. You see that stuff? And like, there's this weird, looks like bugs, moving brown stuff. It's like miles away.
Yeah, nah.
In what, 15 minutes, Kareem?
Yep.
Huge sandstorm with
Yes.
9 and 10 meter per second winds
Yes.
hits the campus.
Yep. I was there for 969. I was in the race. I could not stand upright. I was literally doing this, trying to stay upright. At the same time, I'm looking at Obadeli Thompson's hips over my head. It was like a parachute. It's like somebody had just picked him up and just and yeah. It was and I still don't think that there's an actual win reading for that race. Or if it is, it's six something.
I don't know if there could be, because I doubt that the wind gauge stayed
I
more to the
I
ground.
I don't think the wind gauge actually stayed upright in that race, you know.
Because you got to
So
understand, for it to be windy at UTEP, listen, you're talking about almost triple the winds because the
like
wind blows diagonally.
small structures would have to be blowing over. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, we
Oh, that
digress.
place was an incredible cheat code, though.
Yep.
Well, all right. Let's talk about a sore subject, just because this is our new world, and it's a lot of moving pieces. It's more than chess. I don't even know what to call it at this point. But roster spots.
It ain't chess. It's stupid.
So I want to go first because I want to say something and I want to give props. Do y'all remember when this topic first came up?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And KOP and Mouse got into a semi kerfuffle about which thing was going to do more damage and which was going to be a bigger deal,
Oh,
Oh, that's right. That's
right?
right.
And remember, I fell on the side of KOP that the roster spot was going to be more valuable than the new money. Well, folks, as exhibited by a young lady who was on a cross country team at her dream school, who, because of roster cuts, she was taking less money to be at the Power Five school at her dream school, and her spot, because she is not in the top 45 on her campus, or 35 or whatever it is that her campus is going to, her roster spot is being eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I've had conversations with our one missing tile in the last 3 days. All 3 days, he has displayed, discussed, and lamented the stresses of the cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And the better the team, folks, the better the person getting cut.
sure.
This is what people don't understand. People think if you run 2060, there's no way you get cut. Well, if you're on the wrong team, you're absolutely
Right.
going to get cut.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
This is
happened.
true.
It
Yeah.
is currently happening,
That's right.
right? And so what people are not understanding is roster limits
Mm-hmm.
are way more
Yes. They're
than
anticipating 10,000
the
athletes.
additional scholarship money that is going to some schools.
Yes.
Because, and I'm not going to go down this road, I'll just say, I'll leave it gray and say other sports are seeing a windfall of additional money with these roster limitations, and the sport of track and field is seeing cuts in 85 to 90% of the cases.
That's right.
That's my non-collegiately tethered take on this.
And I'll just say, as a person that has always believed, and when I say always, I mean when I was in school, always believed at some level that student athletes should be paid. I never was of the side of this Wild West environment that is now crashing our business.
It was never supposed to be this.
Right. Any version of the incoming revenue sharing models, whether y'all are ready to accept this or not, is going to crash our sport. Because of revenue share, the already limited roster caps of 45 per gender that the NCAA wants to allow at smaller schools are going to mean that you ain't even allowed to get to the 45.
No way.
No chance. Because every body that exists on your team is more gear,
Mm-hmm.
is more travel, are extra plane tickets, are extra hotel rooms, are extra whatever you want to call it, food on the campus, right? And it's a Title IX balance thing. So I'm just saying, um, the whole situation is cruel and unusual punishment. And now, because of a very articulate distance runner that got in front of the judge is threatening to shut the whole damn thing down over these roster issues. And I just don't understand how, with lawyers and Congress people and, smart people in the room, and
Like
NIL
how they didn't see this
collectives.
coming?
this
How
is
they didn't
the
see this
most
coming?
basic, obvious problem
Mm-hmm.
So obvious.
that you should have all seen.
Yes.
And I don't get it. So I'm not gonna gleefully tap dance and be like, I told you. But like this was just so obvious and it's so stupid. And it's causing it is you're gonna see kids and coaches be forced to emotionally bleed out over this crap. And it's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. But that's the world that we're living in. And we're here now. So all I can hope is that coaches, when you are forced to deal with this, and it's coming if it hasn't come for you already, I hope you do it in some kind of respectful and transparent way, because I can assure you, you ain't prepared for the gravity of those conversations. You can't.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Look, this is what people don't understand. I try. I'm good at making hard decisions because I take emotion out of it. Right. The average track team in the United States on the men's side has between 46 and 50 guys on it. If the roster limit is 35, let's use round numbers. If the average team has 50 and the roster limit is going to 35, that means 15 people off of every single men's team are getting cut, removed, moved on portal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pardon my language, but shit always flows downhill. So if you're one of the 15 who gets cut from a power four, you know what that means? You just took somebody else's job because you're too good to have your career ended.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a non-power four and you're number 36 through 50, unless you're willing to relocate schools and relocate levels, you're probably done competing in
Done.
the sport.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's reality. There's no emotion. There's no hyperbole to that. That's just math.
Mm-hmm.
It's just math.
Yep.
Like it just got 15 people harder to be at every level.
You know, now that you're speaking, the sweet spot is literally the non-P4 school that is getting the support that it needs, where you're not having to get rid of talent, right?
Yeah.
If a kid from P4 wants to come down, you're right there waiting for him, right? You get what I'm saying? And you still have the latitude to take on that kid and say, "Hey, let me help you," right? And it's really an interesting balance when you get to that point, because what we're seeing from P4, we are seeing some major hell being raised. Major hell being raised. And for me as a coach, just trying to get a grip on the landscape of what's going on, we're talking about historical men's programs. Historical men's programs
Well,
getting sliced,
so
right?
to that point,
Mm-hmm.
uh, three quick things. First of all, from a P5 level, I think people are waking up to their delusion
Mm-hmm.
because when this whole thing came out, it was basically assumed that like half of the P5s will get the full 45-35.
Oh boy.
Yep.
No
No, it was
chance.
basically assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Not a
basically assumed.
chance in
That is
hell.
not remotely happening.
No,
And
no.
all I can tell the audience is you would be floored to
Mm-hmm.
learn
Yeah.
who ain't getting nothing close to that.
Yes.
But I
But
digress.
what's funny about that is, really quick, all those schools that you're talking about or not talking about, all of those schools are going to get 35 baseball scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, I ain't doing this with you.
I'm
But
just saying, like,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
no. Listen. What we do on this show is educate our people, right?
Yep.
I'm not trying to make track people hate baseball, but I'm trying to get you to understand all these years
Yep.
where they were talking about being revenue sports, right? And all these years where baseball sells tickets, they lose money, they hemorrhage money,
Yes.
but baseball sells tickets. Track doesn't sell tickets because you have to pay money.
Yes.
You have to pay money to get people to take money.
Right.
Right? Like, this is the facts.
Yeah.
Track doesn't, so that's why track meets have been free in 90 something percent of the places in this country. That small distinction is now the River Nile between baseball and track.
Yes. Yeah.
But to the governor's point, if administrations had the foresight to see, like, you know what? We're a small school.
Mm-hmm.
We're not that great at football. Hell, we're not that great at basketball.
Right.
But the governor and the crew, Tarleton and the crew, you know, places like that have proven, like, you know, actually, if there's some investment here, we can make some noise, we can piss some people off, we can score points at nationals, like we can have a national profile here
Yeah.
in the sport. If you put the scholarship resources into proven quality coaches and proven quality programs, yes.
Hmm.
Oh, we, the small crew, we could piss a lot of people off,
Oh yeah.
a lot of impact.
Hmm.
But what actually is happening is it's getting slashed.
Yeah.
And those situations are not really going to be available at all. And I honestly forgot the third thing I was going to say. So,
Like, listen, I'll pick up the baton and run with it from where you were. I'll give you the best example I can think of. When I was at Boise State,
oh, yeah, sure.
we were a top 20 program, and that was under that landscape because we had support, we had an indoor track, and begrudgingly, the school was supporting of a national and international recruiting
Hmm.
base.
Mhm.
If you take that same support that was at Boise State in 2008, 9, 10, like in that area, if you did that now, listen, folks, I'm going to tell you this. You won't believe me. Boise State would be locked. Do you hear me? Locked into the top 10.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Because in today's climate, a P4 that has its own freestanding track and field facility has a ridiculous football program that brings money
Hmm.
and is proximal to the entire West Coast.
Hmm.
For the record, I recruited 23 young people from the state of California when I was at Boise State.
Hmm.
All of those kids who are being cut from UCLA,
Hmm.
USC,
Hmm.
Cal, blah, 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 Stanford, you
Hmm.
name it, come on to Boise.
Yeah.
That's right.
Come on to
Yep.
Boise. We've
Yep.
had national champion in the hammer, national champion in the javelin, national champion in the women's 5K and 10K. Come on to Boise. I promise you, Boise State would be locked in the top 10 in the country
That's right.
because it's a non-power four that has things that no other non-power four has, like a top 10 football program,
Hmm.
right? Like that's ridiculous.
It's
But
been,
but that support doesn't exist anymore,
yeah,
right? They went cross country only. You can't go back now.
right.
Right.
And, to add on to that, what we're dealing with now is you have administrations that are being proactive, and you cannot fault them for being proactive. And you can't, for even for the ones that are completely ignorant to the virtues of having a successful track program, all they're looking at right now is dollars and cents.
It's just math.
We yes, and we're now being forced as head coaches, as assistant coaches, to think now. Don't even think about it in scholarship terms anymore. Think about it now in dollars and
Right.
cents.
And now I remember my third thing.
Okay.
The the this whole house settlement issue and all the things that come along with it is basically in the hand of one judge.
Hmm.
And the judge has said multiple times now, the roster limit thing sucks
Yep.
and I ain't doing it. And today she basically threatened to blow the whole thing up if she said, go home
14 days.
and figure it out because I will blow this whole thing up if you can't bring me anything better than this. Right?
Yep.
Here's the problem with that. Much like the stock market is plummeting because of poor planning and uncertainty, it's the uncertainty of what this is ultimately going to be that is making everything so much worse on us.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, just tell me what it is and let's be done with it. and let's figure out how to deal with it. The uncertainty is what is crashing this entire operation. And it just is. And to the governor's point, the administrators are trying to get out ahead of it,
Right.
but they don't have answers either.
Right.
So they're just guessing.
Yep.
And it's chaos.
Well, look at it this way. You could actually say they've probably gotten way ahead of the gun based on what we're seeing now, and there's probably no way to reverse
No,
what they've done.
no, you can't do that.
And
You can't uncut kids.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if this judge follows through with what she's saying and basically is saying these roster cuts have to be grandfathered in over a
Whatever.
process of X amount
Right.
of years or whatever. Do you realize when she gives those marching orders,
It work. It doesn't work.
it doesn't
Listen,
work?
Thanos was the best bad guy because he had conviction and belief,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, he did the math. Unemotional. There's
Mm-hmm.
too many people,
Right.
right? You all have heard me say this. There's too many people running college track. There have been for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
The reality is roster limits do the Thanos snap,
Yes, they do.
That's right. That's
right?
right.
But everybody's afraid to be the person that snaps the finger.
Mm-hmm.
When the reality is, behind closed doors, we all accept the fact that that's what needs to happen. There are 15 people on every single track team that don't need to be running anymore. For sure. For sure.
Division One, absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. Yes.
For sure. Right. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, the 15 that need to be cut from the P4 deserve a spot at the non P4, which
Mhm.
then means that there may be more than 15 on the non P4 rosters that got to go.
Oh,
But
yes.
again, you have a choice because if you are at the bottom of a non P4, you probably belonged at the D2 and D3 level in the first place,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So this is all a correction. But even the judge is having heartstrings pulled
Yeah.
about when the
Mhm.
reality is tear off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Because listen, baseball went through this, right? That's how we end up with these crazy roster sizes. They had 35 and then we had COVID, right? So they ballooned all these rosters to include all these COVID kids. And you had schools that had 65 and 70 people in the fall that would cut down to like 50, 55 for the spring, but only 35 are active.
Yeah.
When the reality is, it's like, listen, this is hard. These are hard times. None of this is comfortable. But the reality is still the reality. Football has always spent, and basketball has always spent the lion's share of the money because they made it all. Now that money is going to be disseminated, it's going to be disseminated at the same percentage.
Mm-hmm.
95 to 98% of the money from these settlements are going to go to football and basketball because they're the reason for the settlement.
Yep.
At the end of the day, like nobody ever wants to hear this. Football, I had an administrator tell me this one time. If the NCAA was run like a business, there would be like 3 sports at most schools.
Yeah. Yep.
Harsh truth, still truth.
Yeah.
Right? Here's my thing. I think track could make money if it was forced to.
Hmm.
Right?
I have
at the end of the
zero.
day, right?
I have
At the end of the
I have
day,
zero doubt that if the existence of track was you have an X amount fee to use the facilities, You have the ability to go out and recruit who you want, right? You have the ability to go out and fundraise. You have the ability to put on track meets. You can create your own
Yep.
organization.
Yep.
I guarantee you, and I've been saying this for 20 years, because let's call it what it is. We've been talking about what all of this is for the last 20 years.
Yep.
Okay? I know for me personally, and I know for most coaches, if they were forced into that situation, knowing the people that they know and knowing the people that support track, you would be shocked, in my opinion, at how many programs would survive and flourish. Now, you would need a staff, of course. You would need to have people in your organization, and it would be much more than just having your six coaches and all that stuff, right? But, but you can't tell me that it can't be done, you know? So I was going to say this before we move on. What has intrigued me the most is the, now that these parameters are being set and you're hearing 35 and 45 and, people going deeper cuts and all this stuff. It's been real intriguing to me to see how certain coaches are actually getting more scholarships and don't want it.
Mhm.
Do not want it. They're being told they have to fill out their rosters and they're like, oh no. Mm-mm. Why? Because they're already thinking, all right, we're going nationals or bust. So what that means is I need a compact, I need a crew. I don't need all of these athletes, right? I need a small chosen few, but now here you come telling me I got to add another 20 that I now have to deal with, all the way down to, man, like I've had 130 on my roster, and now I've got to shrink that down to 75 or 80. That's been the juxtaposition that I've been noticing the most, you
What
know?
I have found that the most enjoyable FAFO moment about all of this is the roster limitations set forth by conferences in cross country.
Oh man.
Like, nobody talks about this,
Oh yeah.
but I'm going to say the vast majority of people getting cut are distance runners.
Hmm.
Because, look, I haven't done a deep dive research to tell you what the average cross country roster size has been on the men's side in the SEC. I just know this: it's bigger than 10.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? And so first of all, that group is being cut to 10. Let's
Yes.
start there.
Yep.
Secondly, they are inclusive in the 35,
Yep.
right? So some of that 10 is only running cross country.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
That's the other harsh reality that some people are being forced to pay attention to. So I can go to school X. School X wants me, but I'm running one season now,
One
not
season,
three.
not three. Yeah.
Because again, listen, I can do math. Look, he's not here, but so I'll pick on his team. First of all, cutting the Gator roster to 35, not fun, but doable.
Hmm.
Cutting the Gator sprints, jumps, hurdles, multis roster
Hmm.
to 25?
Yeah.
Shit. Listen, ain't none of us built for that. Ain't none of us built for that.
Yeah.
Right? And so I know there's going to be a couple crossovers. So that 25 is probably going to be like 27 or 28. But still,
Hmm.
if you just look at that team, right? Because look, I mean, imagine trying to do that same conversation with Arkansas's women. They got 47 female quarter milers running under 53. I mean, we didn't talk about it, Tom Jones. They ran 2 teams under 327.
Yes, they
Hello?
did. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
They ran 2 teams under 327.
Yeah.
Or under 328, excuse me. One team ran 327. Anyway, I digress. The point is, when you really dive into the roster cuts, 35 is a brutal number, but it's nowhere near as brutal as the real number, because now you're talking about cutting an SEC men's roster other than distance runners to 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
25 people. Like, listen, it was already hard to be in a Power 4 school. It was already the hardest to be in the SEC. If you are not elite at this point in time, you can't go to one of those schools.
Right.
You can't think you're elite.
No.
You can't even have an elite ceiling. You have to be elite.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can't go.
Exactly. You know, one of the more intriguing conversations I've had is listening to a reputable Division One head coach talk about going from 85 with 20 walk-ons to 105, all scholarship, and how those are 2 completely different paradigms, right? And the survival of football programs over the years has been dependent on having those extra bodies, having that kid that came in and whatever, it didn't work out at his first school. He's now at school number 2. He just wants a roster spot. Just wants a roster spot, right? Had all the talent coming out of high school, wants a second chance, da da da. That kid disappearing. And there are many stories about that kid, right? And those are the small things, I think, in the NCAA that are just going to go by the wayside, because the minute you're on not just a scholarship but a full scholarship to play football at a Power 5, Power 4 school, it's different. It's either you're all in or you're not. There's no here's your shot. You know, we're gonna plug you in this package, and and we'll make sure that we don't play you too much to eat up your red shirt. Like, little nuances like that going away. Going away. Anyway, we could go on, man, but
Well, it's a lot. So, and everybody's operating as if the decision is hard, and it's not hard, in stone.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where you are forecasting, but that's just what it is. And for some, they've been able to use it as an excuse or the reason why they're going to make these adjustments.
Yep.
When push comes to shove,
and the damage has already been done.
Yeah, you've got to go with what you've got. Your cover and your bed have been made. So, well, with another fun, impactful weekend ahead of us, we'll let you digest and marinate and digest all of that information. Come back to it. Enjoy a weekend of track. And let's see. Let's see what we come back with. So, Penn relays, Drake relays, something else.
Texas invite.
There's another one, bigger one though. Can't remember.
What was that?
I don't remember. Anyway,
Drake?
but yeah, so as we get to winding up, have fun. Go kick some butt and take a breath. All right, everyone. We'll see each other next week.